Last time on Dragon Ball Z, Ash, Misty, and Brock made their way to Kame House in the hopes of finally making good on their fate Goku command hidden in their code. Unfortunately for them though, all they found were some slumped Earthlings and a pissed off Namekian looking to give them two for flinching after he got folded like a lawn chair in their first encounter. What occurred after this brief reunion was a boxing match for the ages, with Big Green and 17 going blow for blow in a slobber knocker that would make any shonen fan proud. Blood was shed, sweat was dropped, and rainbows were formed as the two titans clashed in hopes of showcasing for all to see who is currently truly that guy in Dragon Ball lore at this moment in time. But before the clash could decisively end, the two warriors were interrupted by Little Green, aka Piccolo's stepbrother, aka Cell, whom was absolutely elated at finding the androids and being one step closer to achieving his wet dream of ultimate perfection. The first thing I gotta comment on is the way this man Cell comes stance up on this rock when he first interrupts the battle. Buddy comes in, one leg elevated, elbow perched on the knee like he's trying to take the coldest senior photos of all time. Man looks like that one picture of The Rock back when he had hair and used to wear the fanny pack. From this introduction alone, you can already tell what type of time Cell was gonna be on. Man saying the Frieza DNA was in there going crazy with the cockiness and theatrics. Piccolo is definitely stressed seeing Cell's impromptu arrival, but still has in the back of his head that running Cell's fade will be light work, so if he acts quickly, there may still be a way out of this. This is until that man Cell's like, hold my beer, and starts keep charging, revealing that while they were out playing cat and mouse hunt, the crazy amount of people he sucked up has led to his power growing exponentially, so there will be no Tom and Jerry escape tactics using the solar flare this day. After Cell reveals his power, Dude begins power walking towards 17 while Piccolo gazes ahead with a 1,000-yard stare, forced to swallow the black pill that this timeline is really about to be a wrap. Back at Kame House, Agent 47 and the rest of the crew have finally sobered up from the afternoon hotbox session and are starting to come to terms with how screwed they are. The only solace they have left is that Bulma and Dr. Briefs have managed to finish their ultimate weapon, a remote control made from the schematics that Trunks found at Jiro's hideout that will allow them to shut down the androids and smoke them without resistance. And TBH, this would have been an extremely solid plan. The only problem is that the one who was chosen to enact it was Krillin, who after a single peck on the cheek from 18 the Stallion, began harboring a crush burden on the obsessive and left him with a pair of Dragon Balls more blue than a freshly fired Kamehameha wave. And if there's one thing that's true about the Android and Cell arc, y'all, is that it's truly a comedy of errors. There are so many times that the greatest threats throughout this arc could have been neutralized if our heroes used even a fraction of their minimal common sense. But as fate would have it, this was never the case and things just kept getting exponentially worse to an almost comical degree. Now don't get me wrong, I understand that in hindsight, a lot of the actions that seemed like astronomical mistakes on the surface wound up being stuff that was relatively positive in the long run, like sparing 18 or Vegeta's absolute bag fumble of the century coming up against second form Cell that'll be here soon, but this is only in hindsight. In the moment, these fellas choked harder than the Dallas Mavericks in Game 3. Seth, when we hit the climax of this arc, I think we're really going to have to make a quick compilation of every single botch that happened in both these sagas just for emphasis, because just the thought of it right now is starting to give me heartburn. I've digressed for long enough though, because back at Kame House, Krillin has decided that he'll take flight and meet Bulma in the air to grab the remote so he can book it ASAP to shut them down before it's too late. Yeah, whatever you say, buddy. I got a beach house in Idaho I can show you too while we're at it. Tien, deciding that he'll be unable to live with himself if he has to remain a sideline jobber for even a second more, goes on a kamikaze run over to Cell's location in the hopes of doing something, anything to beat the third string side character allegations. And it's at this point where Roshi begins having his own midlife crisis, briefly reminiscing on the times where he actually used to be considered the strongest individual in the world and how much times have changed, with his time mostly being spent now watching reruns of old Skinamax flicks and lighting up while telling a turtle and his old student about the glory days. While Roshi's having memories of his old fades, Cell is looking forward to running a new one, setting his sights on 17 for the suck of a lifetime. One of my favorite things about First Form Cell is how he calls all the Z homies and androids brother and sister. Homie talks like a card-carrying member of the Nation of Islam, and every time he opens his beak, I'm ready for him to start lecturing me about the dangers of swine and white women. Cell began his lecture though, "Rejoice, brother 17, when I absorb you and we enter into our benevolent union, we will become a being of holy power stronger than any other. At last we'll be able to fulfill the dreams of our Lord and Creator, the venerable Dr. Gero, and achieve the dream he has so piously longed for all these years. 17 is like, I'm gonna stop you right there, buddy, because first of all, I'm Catholic. And second, the Ultimate Warrior is already here and you're looking at him. And then 17 blasphemes against the creator and does the worst thing a warrior in Dragon Ball canon can possibly do. Points his thumb at himself while declaring his supremacy. I wish y'all could have saw the tears in my eyes when he did this. I damn near yelled no, because the moment you see this, whether you watch the arc or not, you know this L is solidified in a stone tablet somewhere like the 10 Commandments. 16 screeches out in his sultry robotic tones that 17 needs to run, imploring him to realize that he is no longer that guy and Cell will in fact run his pockets. He also tells him that this green monstrosity's goal is no longer the wholesome dream of smoking Goku while he's lying bedridden from a terminal illness, but rather to put the sticks to the entire universe and nuke it. The sicko just wants destruction purely for destruction's sake. 17 looks over at Hasselhoff, jaw almost at the floor, and is completely livid, yelling out, so let me get this straight. This is the first time any of us hear you talk, and when you do, it's literally telling me how I'm soft and that I need to run from another green jobber who just entered the arc and is supposed to be stronger than me? Nah, I liked you better when you were mute, Hasselhoff. Stay over there in that corner playing with the birds and let me cook, because ain't nobody on this planet got hands like I do. And with that prideful boast, 17 begins his assault on the new would-be alpha of the story. 17 rushes in on his do-dirty timing, looking to take Cell's head off in a direct assault, but is met with the elbow to the back of the neck that would have had him on a stretcher if he was strictly a meatbag. A conflicted Piccolo decides that as much as it would be nice to watch 17 get dumpstered after all he put him through, making sure Cell doesn't achieve his so-called perfection is the true priority. So in an unlikely act of cooperation, Green jumps in to back up 17 and do everything that he can to prevent the absorption. In a miraculous turn of fortune of the arc, Piccolo sees his opportunity to hit the enemy from the back rather than being the one catching the back shots and takes it, hoping to knock Cell's block off while he's off guard and put an end to things quickly. Unfortunately for Piccolo though, Cell's TN genes begin to kick in as he opens up his third eye and parries Piccolo's kick with a look-away arm block and decking the Namekian square in the face, sending him sliding across the dirt. Can't even front, that punch looked painful as hell. It had that boy Piccolo lying in the dirt, holding his face damn near crying in pain. 18 and Hasselhoff watched the beating unfold, with 18 mentioning how 17 and Green need to stop taking it easy on Piccolo's brother over here before stuff actually starts to get out of hand. Hasselhoff looks 18 directly in her eyes and is like, girl, if you do not get your big forehead having, pearl necklace wearing ass off this island and run, I'ma melt you myself. I tried telling y'all that this dude is already enough to sleep 17. If he absorbs the both of you now, it's literally game over, because ain't none of us got the testes to give this man the fight he's looking for. We return to the battlefield where Piccolo has finally finished picking his teeth up off the floor and he begins standing eerily still while placing his hands in something of a diamond formation. Cell peeps this and thinks to himself, yo, this is an odd timing for my brother to bring up that he's a Jay-Z fan. Then moments later is met with a damn near planet level and key blast that leaves everyone on the sideline speechless, including the androids. As the smoke clears and Cell is nowhere in sight, 18 declares the battle won, but Hasselhoff is quick to correct this error, letting her know that Bizarro Piccolo was still very much alive and in reality wasn't even scathed by the massive attack Green just let off. And it's at this time that Cell's Vegeta genes start kicking in, with the man going all in on the theatrics as he emerges from the water like Rambo, completely unharmed by the earth-shattering attack. By this point, Tiena's in the sky and has been peeping the whole thing, and finally begins to have second thoughts. Man starts to realize that if Piccolo did all that and these fellas can't even put a scratch on him, Kami knows why I decided to bring my human ass to the party. I am doing zero work to this thing. Realizing that it's finally a wrap this time, Piccolo just stares angrily as his Nation of Islam brethren walks up to him to deliver the finishing touches on his fade. In a final act of desperation, Piccolo yells out for 17 to run away before he's cut off mid-command by an absolutely devastating hook that put this man to sleep instantly. We are talking Joe Frazier and George Foreman in their prime levels of power in that hook. That ish had me hurting. Then while Green is slumped, Cell comes over and puts his hands on Piccolo's midsection and blows half the Namekian's guts away in a devastating key blast. Then throws his presumably lifeless husk in the water like so much refuse. Everybody on the battlefield stands stunned as they watch the warrior as mighty as Green get pulverized with such brutal efficiency. It's at this point that our view returns to Goku and Gohan, who are sitting on the lookout waiting for Vegeta and Trunks to make it out of Planet Fitness so they can finally have their turn at bat. While waiting, they sense that Piccolo's chi has been reduced to nothing and they fear the worst. The anime version has a bit that isn't present during the manga at this part. I really like it. In the anime, after sensing his homie Piccolo's gotten snuffed, Gohan tells his pops that he's finished with all this weight and stuff, and he's about to go down there to deal with Cell himself because there's no way he's gonna let Piccolo get washed like this without providing some kind of backup. Goku warns his son that this is not the answer, and that the way they are now, all they would do is get themselves smoked and not help a soul. So they need to wait their turn to hit the gym so they can get their get back on Cell properly. At this point though, Gohan is going full aggro and isn't listening to his pops whatsoever, so little man attempts to fly off. But before he can get anywhere, he's met with a grown man level dove straight to the noggin that sends him crashing down. When he looks up, he's surprised to find that it was his own dad that sent him to Duff City, and he just sits down holding his face in shock. He eventually gets the courage to let out a weak, "What the hell, Dad?" to which Goku replies, "I told your little ass not to go out there." Popo sees this Steve Wilkos behavior occurring on his lookout and is absolutely distressed, but tells Gohan that his father's right. Popo asks Gohan to think rationally for a moment at how much his father must be hurting too. Piccolo is one of his day ones just as much as he is Gohan's, and sitting there waiting on the lookout like this is killing him inside too, but he knows that this is the only way to do something about it. We then get a quick pan over to Goku staring out of the lookout, absolutely seething that he's unable to do a damn thing about their present circumstances. To me, this was an absolutely brilliant character building moment on the part of the broadcast team that would have been beautiful to have in the manga. It showcases a couple of really important things. One, that while Goku may be happy and carefree for the most part, he is still Gohan's father and will put his son in his place when necessary. And number two, that his son's safety and well-being is top priority to him, and he is willing to literally deck his son in the face if that means protecting his life and keeping him safe. It's a side of Goku that we rarely get to see. The stern fathering side of his personality that often gets lost in the karate hobo fight fanatic memes that Goku gets lumped in with most of the time. Overall, it's just a cool moment, and I would have felt I was leaving out something major if I didn't touch on it for just a second with y'all. Back on the battlefield, 18 is just now registering that it might actually be a good time to get out of there. Hasselhoff smiles and thinks to himself, finally recommended that 18 follow through on that thought because it's time for him to finally get to work since it looks like he's going to be the only one to help them out of this mess. 17 looks at this man wondering if he must still be recovering from that hotbox session when they hit the Kame house, because there's no way any of them have a chance to stand up to the monster that Cell has become now. 16 grins to himself, letting 18 the Stallion know that he enjoyed their misadventures as Yakko, Wacko, and Doc, and he liked the fact that they never killed without reason. Cue the montage of 18's battle with Vegeta here, but I suppose we ain't counting that. Meanwhile, 17 is getting his egg scrambled by Cell, who's getting everything lined up to absorb that man and make him part of perfection. Cell turns the end of his tail into the Taco Bell logo and prepares to get the first half of his rocks off until he's interrupted by an insane haymaker by 16, who decks him halfway across the island, smiling the whole way through the punch, letting you know that this is a fellow you don't want to be messing with right now. 17 wakes up from his temporary dirt nap to see who's helped him avoid his most recent concussion, and to his absolute shock, he sees 16 standing there grinning like the man's been watching cat videos on YouTube while they've been having the fight of their lives. 17 asks this man what the hell he's thinking, and that fighting a dude like this is like literally game over in yourself. 16 looks down at Yakko and is like, yeah, for you maybe. Because by my calculations, me and Piccolo's little cousin here are about an even match, and then old ugly ass boy proceeds to go to work, shoulder charging Little Green and playing Rock'em Sock'em Robots until eventually he is the one that gets his cap tilted and is met with a stinger straight to the neck by Cell. At this point, everyone thinks the fight's over until Frankenstein's monster here starts smiling, and Cell realizes that wait, this dude is fully mechanical before getting taken for a ride by 16 directly into the dirt. Hasselhoff then rolls up and without a second thought rips off this man's penetrative tool with his bare hands. 16 dryly boasts that he has won, and now Cell has no way to achieve perfection. Cell's quick to remind him though that he's got that boy Big Green's DNA in him and regenerates his appendage with a quickness, telling 16 that regenerating that kind of damage is easy mode. At this moment, 16 decides that the only way to put an end to this circus is to give Cell the big oof, so he calibrates his machinery to body bag mode and prepares to do what needs to be done. What comes next is an underrated fight in the franchise, because the fella Cell and Hasselhoff really start squaring off like nobody's business, with kicks and duffs flying with the worst intentions, both trying to end the battle decisively. Then this man 16 turns into Rain Man out of nowhere, unhooks his mitt from the rest of his arm and fires off a nasty rocket punch to Cell's cranium on his Mazinger timing. Then Hasselhoff hooks the Duff back into place into his socket, hooks Cell, then sends him straight into the ground, and in one of the most disrespectful moves in the series, holds this man over his head like he's Heihachi from Tekken and suplexes this dude into the dirt until he is quite literally 6 feet under. But it's not over yet. Then 16 unhooks both of his arms and goes Mega Man double buster mode and nukes the hole he just put Cell into, creating tremors that scatter across the entire battlefield. 17 just sits there staring at Hasselhoff in disbelief like, damn, I really did not know he had that kind of dog in him. 18 comments on the ass beating too, but 16 glares over at her heated like, girl, did I not tell you to run? This man Cell is not dead. You had this whole time to get out of Dodge. Now you got me sitting here looking stupid when we had the fight won. 17 remarks that he's not leaving the conflict until he gets his get back. Now that Cell is injured, it should be light work. Just then, TM peeps from above that Cell has made his play and is standing right behind 17. Before homie can even react, it's curtains, because this man Cell has him trapped inside his apparatus, legs kicking, looking absolutely crazy. Call me nuts, but watching Cell absorb these androids always made me mad uncomfortable. Ain't there a fetish based off this or something? I know out there this awoke something in somebody, but I am definitely not that guy. All that aside though, in an expansive array of light, Cell emerges from the absorption, a new android, and our hero's day is about to become a whole lot worse. And right here, my friends, is where we're calling it. Can't lie to you, watching 16 get a chance to shine definitely brought a little smile to my face. From this point on, it becomes a Cell show, and I can't wait to chop it up with y'all as we break down the comedy of errors that is the rest of this arc. Tune in next time, as Cell begins to ramp things up as he properly tests out his new transformation. At the same time, two warriors have finally emerged from the room of spirit and time ready to go to work. Has our hero's training paid off, or is it too little too late, since Cell has already gone through half of his transformation? Be easy y'all, and I'll talk to you again in the next video.